And we are live on your most authoritative show, The Pulse, from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Remember, we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This hour, at least 2 children have been confirmed dead in a fire outbreak that occurred at Moshi Zongo in the Kumasi metropolis in the early hours of today. Also this afternoon, committee tasked to investigate Giraffe disturbances submits its report with a promise from the Interior Minister Ambroseri to make persons found culpable to face the full rigors of the law. Plus, Privileges Committee of Parliament begins a formal probe into comments made by Asin Central MP Kennedy Japan on calling for the beating of Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Remember, we are also streaming live on YouTube and all our social media handles. Tweet us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is @TheNana Aisha. Always a pleasure to host you. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with 2 children who have been burnt to death while sleeping in a room guarded by fire at Moshi Zongo in Kumasi. 2-year-old Atahir Alhassan and Salamatu Alhassan, 8 months old, died when they were caught in the fire while their parents were out of the house. There's more in the following report.
Bon wuro ade mbo me da wuro ho no sa me kwa koyin kwala me kwa na ba ne de wa na me twe no firija no te be ma no na wonwu ye so be bia wo hya no me nya no me ye da ta me nya no so me nya no na me da me chi sa me pie so me so na wusie na ade achi me nte me ye me sesa sa na me hu get ne ade pie ye.
A young man who went to rescue the kids but found them burnt to death spoke to JoyNews.
Me nkola mienu bi ni nua omayetum usonu a na ete entinu me fa e fen say da garment kase na me de me de kata no na me de me pagya nyesa nka mentumi but still na me kura no me hu inside ho me hu she.
Some furious residents allege the fire started from a wiring exercise for installation of new ECG meters in the community.
Anu pano be 8 o'clock. Ano mo be fikisi sa no ma we no meters no. Ano mo sa ko fikisi fufuro ase o. Mo nyanduro kura na gya no tochie. Ana eshi edan no.
Afiri meter no ya no mo de meter ne baaye. O mo de meter ne baa na yina ye wo hase. O mo de media ne ba anduru 2 days. Ena ja etomu. Media so mo de ba anduru 2 days. Ena ja etomu. Anaba ko mo sa ba no mo ne nam. Esesa. O mo kuya dodo, o mo kuya ya bra.
The community members drove out firefighters for late arrival to the scene.
Ya from mama ba ya bibia nso ba be hwe ni ma na ba be den
Me jino ho ne free fire service ya pipe be 10 wo ha ene edi dum ya free fire service na ya free fire service ya dum jana wie nkola na wu omo free a kire woni ma se mo kai e de emmoa ne de be boa mo ya dum na wie o aye bibia wie ansa na omo free aka kire se emmoa be na omo de be mai na se nkola na hia wie ne ya dum na wie a mo ba mfaso bia ni so.
The police at Tafo conveyed remains of the deceased to the morgue.
My colleague Nanaya Ojima, he's on the beat for us on this one. He joins me via Zoom with more on this. Nanaya, have we been able to ascertain the cause of the fire yet?
Since the residents did not allow the fire service get access to the area, it's difficult for them to go back and try investigate the cause of the fire. So far, the fire service is still trying to convince them to enable the service get access to the house so that investigations can commence So the main cause of the fire could be established for them to avert future occurrence.
How are parents of the dead children and neighbors reacting to this incident?
Many of the people in the Moshizongo area are saddened by the situation. One of the children, as you heard in the report, is a 2-year-old male, and the other is 8 months and a female. So according to the parents, the circumstances under which the incident happened continue to remain an issue that it's surprising to them because the woman, that's the mother of the 2 children, tells me she was home with the children, woke up early in the morning, tried to go about her normal daily chores, later to realize that the smoke coming from the bedroom in which the 2 children slept. So going in there to find the spot of the children where they slept, fire, ravaging that spot and killing these 2 children is something that is very surprising. Now the cause of the fire remains unknown, but the mother says she wouldn't even she can't fathom how this fire started in the room. So it's been a surprising and also a shocking situation for people living in Moshizongo and people who saw the incident happen.
And what's the mood in the town right now? Can you tell us?
It's a mixed reaction. Some people are still surprised. Others are angered by the incident because they are pointing to the shoddy work, according to them, shoddy work done by the ECG for causing the fire. So some of them are very angry, and some are vowing not to allow the fire service, the electricity company of Ghana, come into the area and continue the process that they've started. That's changing the meters in the area.
And how are the fire officers themselves responding to why they got to the scene late?
So far, we are unable to tell exactly what they are saying because the fire service is yet to give us an interview on that. The personnel who were on the ground early this morning, I say they are not in a better position to grant us interviews or speak to us about what has gone down there at the location. So we are trying to get to superiors to speak to us and help us ascertain reason for their delay, which the people are saying that's the reason why they drove out the service.
Nana, so what has become of the 2 dead children? Have they been sent to the mortuary?
Exactly. The police from the Tafo police station were at the area to pick the body of the 2 children who died from the inferno.
My colleague Nanaya Ojima, he has been updating us on this inferno. Hopefully, when we get the police to tell us the cause of the fire, we'll be bringing you updates on this one. But Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says persons found culpable in the Jura disturbances and subsequent killing of 2 people will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Speaking during the submission of report on the incident by the Justice George Kumsin Committee, he stated the findings of the committee will help resolve conflicting stories and, above all, contribute to better security for the country.
Ayawasi was regrettable. We have dealt with it, and we are continuing to see how much we deal with it. And I can assure you that this committee's report would be taken seriously, and there is no chance that anybody would be listened. At the same time, the law says that you are presumed innocent until you are proven guilty. The problem is that anybody who had any lack of confidence in him didn't have a basis for that. I cannot do anything about idiosyncrasies and prejudices. I cannot do anything about that. And this is a country that's a free country, and people are entitled to their opinions. I'll respect them. But before a committee has worked, you already don't have confidence, it's premature. It is no basis for that. But can I prevent people from having those views? No. But I think that any misconceptions, and that's why I told you that there were conflicting stories and versions, after I studied the report, we would come out or whatever. For instance, I met somebody who asked me those days that the committee asked a question and they were supposed to ask another question, they didn't ask a question. And I find it to be funny because the committee is looking, it's a fact-finding committee. And I've been a lawyer for several years. The way I question, I would ask you a question, I know what I want from it. When a committee has been set up without more, and then you start criticizing. No, I don't think that was wrong, that was right. We will study the report, and I've told you that at the appropriate time, the report will be published for all of us to read and have our own impression.
On the use of the military for minor law enforcement duties, he says collaborations between soldiers and police have resulted in the peace and tranquility Ghana is currently enjoying.
This country has depended on the collaboration between the military, the police, and other security agencies over the years. They've had 27 separate collaborative efforts and operations over the years. And Ghana remains an oasis of peace in this sub-region. So there is something that is good about that collaboration. Having said that, we are prepared and we are doing it continuously. And we take very serious measures when we think that there is some mishap that's attributable to security personnel. And you saw an example in the war situation where when the incident took place, within 24 hours, and I ask anybody to challenge me in the history of this country, the army commander was in war. In early 2018, I was in war with the president. And at that time, it was the case that even between 5:30 and 6 p.m., there were, armed robberies along the street. The collaborative effort has brought that under control. Now, government is committed to making sure that we promote accountability of security personnel. And that's why you've heard us recently talking about body cams, where we can have them wear body cams. And the body cams will give us evidence of what actually happens in every situation and where they are found culpable dealt with. At the weekend, I attended the funeral of the policeman who was killed in the bullion van attack. So I think that, yes, we will correct things that need to be corrected, and then we'll go ahead and do introspection from time to time. We check to see what the mistakes are and we correct them. So the mistake that took place for the military, we've dealt with it. I'm going to study this report and we'll take the report seriously. And I believe that whatever comes out of it will be the good and betterment of.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, the chairman of the committee, Justice George Kingsley Compson, in a response to the backlash received by the committee for its line of questioning of some journalists, stated the questions were to enable the committee get an accurate narration of what actually happened.
We knew that it was an important but delicate assignment with a huge national expectation. We can assure you that we equally attached serious importance to it and dedicated ourselves to all issues with meticulous attention and detail. Having assured ourselves that after listening to 22 witnesses and reviewed volumes of documents, audios and videos, we have come with our findings and preferred some recommendations. These we present to you today in the hope that the government, through your good self, will give a good ear to them and try to accept and implement them. Our work was to ascertain the facts and make recommendations. In this digital age, we all know that anything can be manipulated. So if let's say the regional minister tendered a video. He was asked, Honorable, this video, has it been altered? The answer was no. The media man also comes. He's asked the same question. Do you think your video has been doctored? And he says no. I do not understand why somebody will have to construe such a question as trying to accuse the media of something wrong. No, we had no such intention. So people should discard that from their mind. We were doing our work. We were entitled to ask questions. And the question was a fair question. So we had no intention of accusing the...
What do you make of assertions out there that...
Let's now head to Parliament, where Chairman of Parliament's Privileges Committee, Joseph Wusu, says petitions to him against Asin Central MP Kennedy Japan outside what the Speaker referred will not influence the judgment on the issue. The committee is due to meet today to decide on modalities that will guide the probe into contempt charges against the MP for calling for the beating up of Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko. Since the referral, a number of petitions have been published, including one on change.org asking for him to be removed from the Defense and the Interior Committee. Multimedia Group Limited has also sent one to the committee. But Mr. Osewusu says the committee is focused. He says a planned meeting scheduled for yesterday on the issue has been rescheduled to today.
The meeting at which the committee is agreeing on the date to do a public hearing, or whether it is in-camera hearing or public hearing, and then the modalities, and let people know what the rules are. Whether we like it or not, this is the court of Parliament. And so we have to be sure that people clearly understand our role as arbiters, listening to both sides and coming to a conclusion based on the evidence and the law. So that's the real reason is to agree on the modalities, that people know what rules will apply, which part of our standing orders apply, which part of the Constitution applies, and then how we go about taking evidence as a committee meeting like this. So this is just largely a preparatory meeting towards the proceedings itself.
So the proceedings be public?
Well, the meeting will decide. The committee will decide tomorrow.
We know there have been a number of additional petitions beyond what the Speaker referred to your committee, including one that the Multimedia Group itself has actually brought to Parliament. How will that feed into the hearing of the case itself and the final conclusion that the committee would reach?
I'm aware of only one petition referred to the committee by Mr. Speaker. In this court, we don't have the liberty to receive petitions from anywhere else. Any matter we will consider, only a matter referred to the committee by Mr. Speaker. So, if anybody has any issue, I think that it should take the formal process of submitting his petition to Mr. Speaker. If the Speaker considers it worthy of being investigated, we refer to the committee. But for now, there's only one petition before the committee. The petition brought to Mr. Speaker by the Honourable Member for Tamale North. That's all.
My final question will be, some peddle the argument that you are handling one of your own, so then there is almost no guarantee that any sanctions may apply or anything of that sort. What can we all expect at the end of this entire process?
Well, that's your preliminary suggestion that we are handling one of our own. That has always been the practice. Every good profession has in-house disciplinary procedure. It happens in every organization. I'm a member of the Bar Association. There's a disciplinary committee. If a member is accused of misconducting him or herself, it is lawyers who consider. It's the same practice here. Now, what we do is to consider the evidence before us and the law if the evidence and the law suggests that the person has erred, our duty as a committee is to report to the House. Mr. Speaker, I referred to us this petition. We have investigated that these are the facts. This is the law. In our view, the person has fallen foul of the law or he has not. Our recommendation is that such and such punishment be applied. The punishment itself is also regulated by law. It's not something you can out of the blue decide that A or B or C. There's the Parliament Act which regulates what kind of punishment Parliament can exact on persons guilty of contempt or abuse of privilege.
The Privileges Committee of Parliament has since begun formal investigations into the comments by Asin Central MP Kennedy Japan calling for the beating of Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko. And today we're hearing of a meeting to decide the modalities to engage the Asin Central MP. Let's take you live there because my colleague Opoko Gakpo is our correspondent monitoring events for us. Gakpo, what has become of the meeting to decide the modalities to engage the Asin Central MP Kennedy Japan?
So Aisha, that meeting we gather came off earlier today, except that it's now proving very controversial because then from what the chairman of the committee, Joseph, told us, there had been a conversation that this meeting would actually be held online. So it was supposed to be a Zoom meeting, not an in-person one. Now we're gathering that the minority MPs on the committee did object to this idea and insisted that it's the very first meeting of the committee since this particular parliament began sitting, and so they found it as a very good opportunity for members to come together in person. But the first Deputy Speaker, Joseph, who is also the chairman of the committee, has insisted that due to COVID-19 protocols, a lot of work is ongoing online and via Zoom. So he fixed this meeting via Zoom. And from what we're gathering, the minority MPs did not participate in that Zoom meeting. That eventually took a decision that on the 5th of August, which is a Thursday, that's next week Thursday, that's when the committee will be meeting to hold its public probe at 5 p.m. GMT. And from the details that we're gathering, the indication is that at that meeting on the 5th of August, the complainant in this case, Alhassan Suhini, who is the MP for Tamale North, whose petition actually triggered this whole conversation, will be appearing before the committee to then offer his testimony, provide his witness to back his claim over how come he thinks Mr. Kennedy Japan should be held in contempt of Parliament, after which is the expectation that Mr. Kennedy Japan himself will appear and probably defend his actions and explain himself, after which other decisions will subsequently be taken. So the minority MPs on the committee, led by ABA Husseini, who is the MP for Sagnerugu, is insisting that they don't, for now, recognize that agreed time of 5 p.m. GMT on August 5th as the date for the public probe because they were not part of that meeting. And they are making a demand for a proper in-person meeting of the committee to then decide on the modalities, and so they are kicking against the whole approach. So that's the bit of the controversy that's brewing there, but the MPs on the majority side insist that they fixed the 5th of August and they look forward to hearing from the witnesses and particularly the complainant in the case as they begin the public probe.
Gakpo, we know that activities including the Minister of Health, who's supposed to be answering questions on the COVID-19 situation of the country in Parliament, are on the order paper. What has happened in Parliament so far?
House began sitting somewhere around 2:30. It was a brief conversation during which the chairman of Parliament Appointment Committee laid the report that recommending that the House approves Kisia Jabing as special prosecutor. That report will be debated a little later, and then other business was done, after which the House then moved into a committee of a whole sitting. And from the details that we're gathering, there's a briefing that's actually going to MPs from the various security chiefs, the details of which we are unaware of. But as you rightly indicated, when they return from this said committee of a whole sitting, which is actually an in-camera sitting of all members of parliament, we are expecting that the Minister for Health will be appearing on the floor to respond to a question from the MP for the Keta constituency, Kwame Jujoli Gakwe, who is asking the Minister for Health what urgent steps are being taken to address the highly contagious COVID-19 Delta variant that has been detected in the country. We are expecting that to happen a little later today. There is also another question to the Defense Minister on what urgent safety measures are being put in place to protect the journalists who recorded the military brutalities in Wa. So we are expecting that and a number of questions will come up for the various ministers to respond to. But as we speak to you, we're coming to you from somewhere around where the Speaker's office is located, because members of the Ghana Union Traders Association, GUTA, are here in Parliament to meet the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. They have concerns about a speech he gave in Nigeria, during which he made the point that a conversation has begun to review the Ghana Investment Promotion Authority laws, which will then allow for a situation where Nigerians in particular can go ahead and engage in the retail sector without requiring the minimum $1 million minimum capital. Members of GUTA have addressed media briefings and criticized that on a number of occasions. And so we're actually waiting for them to then go ahead with the meeting and then brief the Speaker on their concerns, after which we would hear from the Speaker as well. So that meeting is unfolding right here in Parliament as we speak as well. Aisha.
My colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo with updates from Parliament. We're definitely keeping an eye on that meeting with the Speaker and bring you outcome of that meeting in a subsequent bulletin. We're still live on The Pulse. We'll return shortly with more. Do stay. Let's now talk about the COVID-19 pandemic because the Ghana Employers Association is asking business owners to direct their workers to stay at home or work from home if they have flu-like symptoms in spite of the travel history. The association is also cautioning against physical meetings and events which it says could threaten the lives of workers. This, according to the Chief Executive of the Ghana Employers Association, Alex Frimpong, forms part of measures and guidelines to contain the spread of COVID-19 pandemic at workplaces. The association believes non-compliance of the safety protocols will be very dire to the survival of the businesses. In a statement issued in the last few hours, it's giving about 8 protocols that should be observed at the workplace, and it is encouraging employers to ensure it works. And 1, to provide adequate facilities, that is soap, hand sanitizers, and the rest, to encourage workers, contractors, and customers to practice workplace hygiene, frequent hand hygiene, avoid touching eyes, nose, mouth. 2, create the enabling environment for physical distancing at the workplace through demarcated intervals of at least 1 meter intervals. 3, consider the introduction of appropriate shift systems for employees and allow those who can work from home to do so without compromising standards and productivity where the nature of the business operation permits. It goes on to talk about to fumigate and disinfect the workplace regularly. A schedule for the fumigation and disinfection should be pasted on notice boards for the information of workers, customers, clients, and other stakeholders. And also to reduce physical meetings and events because there's a risk that people attending the meeting might expose others to the COVID-19 virus. Also talks about constituting safety committees to deal with issues concerning COVID-19. The safety committee should appoint focal persons who shall have the responsibility of liaising with health professionals in the event of an outbreak of the virus, and then direct workers to stay at home and or work from home if they have flu-like symptoms, example, fever, cough, etc., regardless of travel or contact history. And lastly, change workplace culture, which includes to stop handshaking, workers taking lunch at own desk or outside rather than in the cafeteria or break rooms, limit sharing of food in workplaces. And it goes on to say that the A wishes to remind all employers to resort to the use of dialogue and collaborate with their workers to conform to these basic actions and measures to protect the health and security of employees and their families, as well as sustain the enterprises. It's also encouraging workers themselves to adhere strictly with the COVID-19 protocols and guidelines, even after work, when they join their families back at home and in their communities. Workers are also encouraged to comply with employers' directives and policies to vaccinate the workforce of the organization when the vaccines become available. And the association also assures government, so it calls on government also to support businesses because of how this will affect. And it says he urges government to accelerate the implementation of the 100 billion cities Ghana COVID-19 alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support program, which is designed to cushion businesses and keep the economy on the path of rapid recovery. The association has assured government of its full support and cooperation in obliging to get rid of the pandemic, and it's signed by Alex Frimpong, Chief Executive Officer. And thankfully, Alex Frimpong, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Employers Association, joins us via Zoom for more. Mr. Frimpong, I'm grateful for your time. Are there measures to ensure the full compliance of these guidelines?
Thank you for having me. I think the essence of the release is to continuously admonish and request employers to abide by the protocols that are already known to us, so that we are able to withstand the potential impact of the COVID in workplaces and also in the various communities.
Do you have a monitoring mechanism? I'm talking about one to collaborate with the Ministry of Employment to actually monitor how this is complied with in all the workplaces you're talking about?
Well, in another communique that was signed by or issued by the National Tripartite Committee, the parties tasked the Labour Department through the Labour Inspection mechanism to, from time to time, visit workplaces to ensure that these protocols are fully complied with by employers, and report back to the plenary for further discussions if there are deviations which will require the intervention of the National Tripartite Committee and, by extension, the various social partners.
Is there any sanction regime for employers who do not abide by this directive?
Well, so far we have not come to that. And for the time that these communiques were issued, at least my personal rounds or visits to the various organizations show that they have done even more than enough. And because they know that the stakes for them are very high. If this pandemic is not really handled properly, the very survival of their businesses are at stake. And they fully endorse the view that the protocols must be fully complied with. So I'm not sure sanction is an option. Now, of course, there may be deviance here and there, but by and large, the larger employers community believe that they have to collaborate with government and other agencies to ensure that we rid this country of the pandemic. Because if we are not careful, the economy, if it's affected seriously, then we don't have any business, and the employment may also suffer.
Knowing too well that businesses sometimes are concerned about their profit and utmost productivity and may not be able to comply with, for instance, the protocol of putting workers into shift systems, what exactly are you doing to ensure that the workplace is not crowded?
Well, as I alluded to earlier on, this is a pandemic that threatens the very existence of businesses. So if you are not careful, even the profit that you have in mind, you may not even live to enjoy that profit. So the primary concern of every business as we have this conversation is that let us work together to rid this country of the pandemic. Otherwise, no matter what plans and programs you put in place, you are not likely to succeed. So I can assure you that businesses take this issue of handling the pandemic very, very, very serious. And I'm sure that takes precedence over any other consideration that they have. So trust me, businesses are working with the health authorities to make sure that we work together to rid this country of the pandemic. Because any projection that you make, if the pandemic is still with us, you cannot make any progress.
I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Alex Frimpong is the CEO of the Ghana Employers Association. Of course, let's get an update of how the country's situation looks like as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And new cases now stand at 435. Active cases now at 4,521. Confirmed cases in total, 102,103, and recovery standing at 96,759. Deaths now at 823. Let's look at the regional breakdown, and that's where you see the red circles on your screens. And Greater Accra is leading the chart, followed closely by the Ashanti region. Health officials have complained and are raising concerns about protocols. And so all of us have a collective task, responsibility to mask up. The Court of Appeal on Monday dismissed the case application of Asin North MP Georgia Chikwesin and the MP for Jomoro, Dorcas Afo-Tofi. The two embattled MPs have been fighting their dual citizenship cases after they won their parliamentary elections in the 2020 elections. In each of the cases, the applicants are challenging their qualifications to contest the 2020 elections, with both basing the applications on Article 94(2), which spells out the qualifications of an MP.
The case of the Asin North MP, his appeal was for a stay of proceedings after the trial judge, Justice Kwesi Boakye, dismissed earlier appeal for stay of proceedings. Unfortunately for him, the appeals court he turned to also dismissed the application. Counsel for the petitioner raised a preliminary objection to the motion for stay of proceedings on the grounds that the Court of Appeal lacked jurisdiction to grant motions for stay of proceedings since CI 132 has revoked Rules 27A and 28 of CI 19, which were the rules upon which the Court of Appeal could grant an application for stay of proceedings. Counsel for the Asin North MP, Justine Teriwaja, argued the Court of Appeal's power to stay proceedings doesn't mean that it can no longer grant application for stay of proceedings. He further submitted that it only means that the court's power to grant application for stay of proceedings is now based only on the inherent jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal. The panel of 3 judges unanimously dismissed the application of the applicants for stay of proceedings. The judges then advised the Asin North MP to test the law at the Supreme Court in respect of his contention that despite the revocation of the rules, the Court of Appeal still has inherent jurisdiction to grant motions for stay of proceedings. The MP for Jomoro, on the other hand, had also filed an application to stay execution of the High Court's order on her to produce document evidence on the renunciation of her alleged Ivorian citizenship. Lawyer for the Jomoro MP, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, says his client, the MP for Jomoro, has never pleaded any such document, so the High Court erred in ordering the MP to produce a document which the MP never pleaded. The Court of Appeal subsequently dismissed the appeal, directing the applicant to apply to the Electoral Commission of Ghana for a copy of the statutory declaration she attached to her document when she filed her nomination to contest the election. Representative of the applicant in the Asin North MP's case, Richard Tichimensa, says his opponents are only seeking to drag the process.
We know from day one that we put a solid case before the courts and they are going to determine the case on its merit. But from day one, the MP for Asenoff and his lawyers have been employing delayed tactics. So even when they know that the application is not granted in law, they will still embark on it just to delay the case. But as I've said some time ago, and it's been said over the years, the wheels of justice grind slowly, but it shall definitely get to its destination. So tomorrow too, we are going to the Supreme Court. They filed an application there for certiorari and interpretation, and that one to appearing before the Supreme Court tomorrow.
The Supreme Court is scheduled to give its ruling on Tuesday in an application filed by the Asenoff MP. The MP invoked the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on the interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) and to quiet the orders of the trial court judge because, according to the MP, the judge did not allow oral submissions in the case before him. Meanwhile, the High Court in Cape Coast has slated Wednesday, 28 July, for the judgment in the Asenoff MP's case. For Joy News, Richard Kwejo, Cape Coast.
Let's get an update on this case because lawyers of the Member of Parliament for Asenoff, Joe Jachikwesin, have withdrawn an application to invoke the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for the court to interpret certain constitutional provisions. The MP's lawyer, Justin Tariwaja, had tried without success to get the Cape Coast High Court hearing the election petition involving his client to refer Article 94, Clause 2A of the 1992 Constitution to the Supreme Court for interpretation. My colleague Kweku Asante, who's been monitoring this for us, joins me now with updates. Kweku, what happened in court today?
When the case was called, the 5-member panel, presided over by Justice impressed upon Justice Justin Tariwaja, who is the lawyer for the MP, to withdraw the specific application that he was making before the court. This was because, according to the court, the situation has not matured enough for the Supreme Court to interpret the provisions. Although some of the justices of the Supreme Court were hearing the issue, actually agree that there may be certain issues that may have to come to the Supreme Court. They say that what the lawyers for the MP should have done was to have officially and formally notified the High Court judge in Cape Coast for the Cape Coast judge to refer this specific provision to the Supreme Court. And if the judge refused, then he could have come to the Supreme Court. But what we are looking now is Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, which deals with persons holding dual citizenship and their ability or otherwise to hold public office. And we know that the election petition currently, according to the person who has filed the election petition, says that Mr. Joe Jachikwesin, at the time of filing his nomination with the Electoral Commission to be able to contest as an MP, had not fully renounced his Canadian citizenship. And so that is still at the heart of the situation, although it has not been fully established yet. And so the lawyers for the MP wanted this specific provision to be part of the issues set down for the trial and for this to be referred to the Supreme Court. According to the lawyers, they made an informal appeal to the judge, but the judge refused. And so what the Supreme Court has been explaining today was that they should have made it a formal notice. And if the judge refused and issued a ruling, then they could have passed that ruling. But because that was not done, this application that has been made was not matured enough. And so they gave Justice Justin Tariwaja, the lawyer for the MP, the opportunity to withdraw the motion. And if he did not, what they would have done was to dismiss.
Kweku Asante is my colleague monitoring events at the court for us. We'll bring you updates as the events unfold. Now, the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana, we'll take a break on the Pulse this afternoon. We'll bring you the rest shortly. Welcome back to the Pulse, to the rest of our discussions. And the Senior Association of the University of Ghana and the Federation of University Senior Staff Association of Ghana has threatened to withdraw their service within 72 hours of what they describe as unfavorable conditions of service and the failure of government and the National Labour Commission to address their concerns. Though Government paid their Tier 2 pension arrears. The association says government failed to pay them returns and on their arrears as stipulated by law. They are also pushing for a review of market premiums and on basic allowances for members of the association. The group has also hinted of plans to petition Parliament. National Chairman of SSA, University of Ghana, Zakaria Mohammed, speaks for the group.
Yes, in terms of the reporting, I mean, some of the figures don't add up. If you look at government's own reporting, we cited particularly the expenses around the free electricity and free water, what government has reported to have spent and what has been captured in the budget report as the actual expenditure, I mean, does not, tally. So I think that those are some of the gaps that we are pointing out, and we think that we can do better. Yeah.
In that regard, well, over the weekend there was a major push by the minority in Parliament for a full-blown forensic audit of the expenses. Based on what you found on your study, is there something that you give your support to?
I think, I mean, it is a call. I mean, it's a right call. I would say. If you look at what other countries did, I mean, real-time kind of audits were being conducted so that it keeps an eye on these expenditures. So the
Zakaria Mohammed thankfully joins me on the phone right now for more. Exactly what has your discussion been with government that you're taking this action?
Yes, Aisha, thank you for having me. You're asking what our problem has been with government.
Exactly the point.
Yes. The problem we've been having with government began somewhere in 2018 when we had bitterly complained about the outstanding pension Tier 2 contribution of our members from 2010 to 2016 and the market premium and non-basic allowance were awarded to some unions or public sector workers, and that of the senior staff cadre were ignored. And the third bit of it had to do with the conditions of service of public universities in Ghana. That is supposed to be reviewed every 2 years. But since 2008, we have not had that conditions of service reviewed. Now, after a series of strikes embarked by the Senior Staff Association of Public Universities in Ghana, we had met with government high-powered delegation and agreed on the 60-day ultimatum to resolve all these outstanding matters, which expired on the 19th of July 2021. And again, even with the government high delegation, we did not call off the strike. But they took the intervention of Vice Chancellor Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, and the Fairways and Salary Commission. We met at the Legon Commonwealth Hall, signed on to an agreement that stated clearly that we were to use the period ranging from 30th June to the 19th of July to resolve all the concerns. And this was guaranteed by the Vice Chancellor Ghana. Only for 19th to come, and there was no show. I mean, we hadn't gotten anything. But even before the close of meeting, we had only met on the 30th of June. And government offered certain percentage that we're not very comfortable with. And the Fairways and Salary Commissioner promised that he was going to secure a new mandate from government, because that day, the percentage he was quoting was the mandate he had from the government. And that he was going to get back to us in a week's time. Our calculation in a week's time from the 30th June, in a week's time was going to be on 7th July 2021. So I called him again on his phone. He said he hasn't secured the mandate. Then on the 10th of July, we had a National Executive Council meeting at the University of Cape Coast. I called him before walking into the meeting, and they still hadn't got it. So there was only one we declared, when we stated that if by the close of day on the 19th of July, nothing was heard from the source of government, we're going to declare strike. He wrote a letter to us, inviting us to a meeting yesterday. When we went, the mandate was still the old one, which has been offered to us since 18 February 2021. And we thought that is not right. And the Tier 2 to the principal has been paid when the day we declared our 18th May strike. And what was outstanding was the Tier 2 returns, the interest on it. The Minister of Employment and Labour Relations asked us to submit names of our technical team to government, and government will come out with this technical team. And that the two technical teams were to meet and determine the modalities on how the interest on the Tier 2 amount, which amounted to 41.35 million Ghana cedis, was going to be calculated. We submitted since June 30th. The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations has not even acknowledged or responded to all those things. And we think that is not good enough for us. And the press conference seeks to draw government against tension and to give government ultimatum that within 72 hours, if nothing is said, all the 16 public universities will strike. And before that, we are going to petition the Parliament of Ghana to look into our matter in a non-partisan manner, because we think that we have a peace. And we have identified certain government statutory agencies that have contributed to our frustration. And those statutory agencies are the National Labour Commission, Fair Wage Salary Commission, MPRA, and the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. So we pointed out where all of them have erred and sought to see that these people have not actually assisted us at all. And that's what has culminated in the big frustration that senior staff of Poly University in Ghana have found themselves today.
Mr. Mohammed, there's been a series of meetings with between you and the National Labour Commission. The last time your group met, you were told to end the strike or the labor unrest. What has happened to it? Does it mean that nothing has been done to your complaints at the last meeting?
Yes, Aisha, that's exactly our problem, because when we declared the 21st January strike, the National Labour Commission invited our union and government and directed us to call off the strike, and also directed government to use 3 months to resolve all the outstanding issues, which was supposed to have elapsed on the 31st of March 2021. After we left National Labour Commission, nothing was done. So on the 23rd of March, we wrote again to National Labour Commission, prompting them that the attitude of government, the position of government did not point to the fact that they will respect their directives and that there was a need for some action to be taken against them. National Labour Commission did not acknowledge receipt of it. They did not tell government anything. And when it elapsed on the 31st of March, we waited till somewhere 18th May. April came, we did not do anything. And National Labour Commission did not also do anything. So we decided that no. The purpose of all of the strike is that the National Labour Commission has a responsibility to settle the dispute between us and government, and they have responsibility to refer to all manner of people in Ghana, especially when it has to do with union and government. So we decided that, well, since National Labour Commission is unable to resolve our case, we'll go back to strike. Only for National Labour Commission to ask us to stay action, and we refused and went for the strike, as a result of which they were threatening to secure an injunction against our union. And we think this is unfair. When government violated your directives with impunity, no action was taken against government. Why is it that when we are fighting for our rights, National Labour Commission will start to say that, we should say action, when the issue for which we went on strike has not been fully resolved, or has not been resolved at all? That is a problem we have with National Labour Commission too.
So what has been the response of government since you issued this warning of withdrawing your services within 72 days?
Yes, it's not been up to 24 hours. We haven't heard anything from government, but we are hoping and praying that within the course of the 72 hours given to government, something meaningful will be done to affect this strike, to prevent the parents and academic calendar of public universities from being affected.
And if you don't hear from government?
We will definitely declare an industrial strike action without any recourse to any source.
I'm grateful for your time this afternoon.
So
Zakaria Mohammed, he's a national chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana. It could have been worse. That's the defense of the TUC in the face of outrage among public sector workers following the announcement of a marginal 6% increase in the daily minimum wage of 2021 and 8% for 2022. Addressing a news conference in Accra today, Secretary General Dr. Yao said they had to settle with these increments in order to avoid redundancy and a freeze in public sector employment, among other reasons.
The idea was to explain to our members and the general public why we accepted the outcome of the negotiation. There's so much out there that we have sold off We wanted workers to understand that the leaders that they have selected to lead them are not people who have been selected to make sure they are shortchanged. No. We went there to negotiate, and we negotiated in good faith. We negotiated for a very long time, held so many meetings. At the end of the day, what we got appears to be unsatisfactory to many of our members. We ourselves were not happy. But the reason we accepted what we got was because government added something that we thought was very valuable. One was that no public sector worker will be declared redundant because of COVID. And we thought that was good enough. The other is that government will not freeze employment in the public service. So government is opening up spaces there to employ more people, young people. The third was that every worker will receive the vaccination against COVID. Then the last was that government will not continue to delay the payment of our second tier and the first year pensions. And we thought these 4 conditions were good enough to add to the little we got in terms of pay increase, and which is creating a lot of problems. But we are hoping that after this press conference and after this explanation, workers will understand that the first thing you want is to keep your job. And also, even if you have a job, your daughter, your son, your niece, your nephews, they are all at home. Even if you don't have any of this, some Ghanaians will also get jobs. And that is good for all of us. So we just went beyond our own needs, also to the entire country. And I think that was good. And we are hoping that our members will understand this and understand the circumstances that surrounded this whole negotiation this year. We would have wished that we had received more. In fact, it could have been worse, because when we started the negotiation, our fear was that government would come and tell us that this year there will be no increase because of some advice government was getting from its advisors. But government came and negotiated with us in good faith, and we got something that was not fully satisfactory. But with the conditions attached, we believe that it will go a long way to help all of us as Ghanaians.
Meanwhile, the TUC wants government to set up a commission to look into the entire salary structure of public sector workers.
The salaries relating to 2021 to 2024. What happens is that sometimes this committee is delayed and they appoint it somewhere in 2024, for example. Then they agree the pay increase and then they work it backwards to 2021. This is what is creating unpaid during this current period. So it's a big problematic. That is why we are calling on the president to, as matter of urgency, create or constitute a committee quickly. Don't wait. And in this case, we are not even calling for a committee for Article 71, but a committee for the entire public service, so that we can have a remuneration system which is fair, which is equitable, and nobody feels cheated. Now, we feel many public servants feel that some groups have privileges that they don't have. And I think that such a commission, if government or president appoints, will do a good job. And because they will call for input from all of us, and then we will make sure that whatever comes out of it is fair.
Let's now go back to our earlier story on the concerns raised by the Senior Staff Association members who have threatened that they will go on strike in the next 72 hours if nothing is done. And they describe as unfair practices within the labor front. Joining us on the phone is Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ofosu Asamoah. Thank you so much for joining us. You have had meetings with the Senior Staff Association. What has been the outcome so far that they are resulting to this action?
Hello.
Yes, Ms. Ofosu Asamoah, we know that you've had several meetings with the association. The last time they went on strike, we know that you ordered them to go back to work. Now they're giving you a 72-hour ultimatum. What has happened?
Well, we engaged them, and the ministry against whom they were contending with appeared before the commission, and in their presence, we needed to have the matter settled outside the commission. So they have been engaging each other. I think the last time I checked was last week, Thursday, and the minister said they were on it. We were still meeting. I checked on Friday, and only to hear at this time that we received a letter from them that we wanted to go on strike. But if the government does not adhere to resolve the problem, at the commission, we appeared and the commission is mandated to resolve the issue, and it was in the process, and they said they wanted to go and resolve, of which they have liberty to do. So the only expectation is that if they are unable to resolve, they will return to the commission, for the commission to continue from where they left off. Unfortunately, we have just been handed a notice of an intended strike. And so that is where we are now. I have referred the matter to the members of the commission for their advice. I have written to the ministry formally to inform them of what we have received and for their reaction. So that is where we are now.
Mr. Samoa, so what do you intend to do about this 72-hour ultimatum?
That is what I said. Since they left the commission to go and settle, we should know the outcome of the commission. If they were unable to settle what has happened, where they got into, and then we move ahead. So we are still within time.
Have you reached out to them? Have you been served with a copy of this ultimatum of 72 hours, which...
Yes, we received it this afternoon.
Okay.
And we have acted on it.
Okay, what has been the specific action?
That is what I said, that they were before the commission and they left. All that the commission is waiting for is for them to come back to tell us whether they have settled the matter. So we close it. If they are unable to settle, then the commission will continue. Unfortunately, we have been served by a letter that we might resume the strike, which is appointed to the fact that we were unable to resolve it. So if they were unable to resolve it, we now have to bring the party to see what they have been able to and the issues that are left outstanding so that we go ahead.
I'm grateful for your time. Ofosu Asamoah is Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission. Let's head to Akachi now, because the Akachi College of Education is developing a 10-year strategic plan to guide the institution to become one of the best training centers for teachers on the African continent. The 2020-2030 strategic plan would contain key strategies towards enhancing staff capacity, social needs of students, infrastructure, and integrate information communication technology into academic activities. The principal, John Sedo, announced this at the college's 13th congregation held on the campus in the Akachi South Municipality of the Volta region.
The Akachi College of Education was established in 1963 to serve as a training center for teachers. The institution, which has seen some development over the years, currently has a student population of over 1,200. Management of the institution has undertaken several initiatives to improve the training of students. Key among them is a 10-year strategic plan, which the college principal, John Sedo, believes would be a game changer.
The college is currently working on the strategic plan for the period 2020-2030. The college has put in place key strategies to attract, hire, and retain highly qualified and experienced academic and support staff so as to improve upon the capacity of academic and administrative staff of the college, improve on academic and social needs of students, improve upon the teaching of science and mathematics and ICT education in the college, expand and improve on the physical facilities or infrastructure, integrate fully ICT into the teaching and learning processes of the college, initiate quality assurance measures for teacher education. The foregoing, nonetheless, require concerted efforts by the academic and non-academic staff, together with various stakeholders, for effective implementation. The college, through the help of its hardworking staff, has been able to put together a comprehensive policy document cutting across all aspects of the college's operations, which include academic, leadership and management, and general administration. A number of them have already been fully implemented, while others are at various levels of implementation. Heads of departments and units have been charged to identify and accomplish any 3 objectives stated in the CIPs, and this will be one of the indicators by which their performances will be evaluated.
He, however, entreated the government to ensure abandoned projects on the campus are completed to curb the institution's infrastructure deficit.
Work on the construction of a new female students' hostel with funding from GET Fund has stalled for more than 5 years. We are told the contractor has raised several certificates which were yet to be honored. Should the contractor not be able to return to site by the end of this year, we would have no option than to request the consultant to abrogate the contract and re-award to another contractor. And this, I must admit, the process has been initiated. Ladies and gentlemen, in the face of the modest gains in project delivery of the college, there is quite a yawning gap of infrastructure facilities to cope with the complexity of needs as a growing tertiary institution. We urgently need the following projects to be approved for the college and thus require special allocation from GET Fund. Auditorium, 20-unit lecture halls and offices, administration block, and principal's residence.
The principal of Accra College of Education, Dr. Samuel Awinkene Atintonu, who was the guest of honor, entreated teachers to ensure they abide by the ethics of the profession.
Being a professional teacher is not the receipt of a teaching certificate, but you must be the one ensuring that you exhibit best practice as a professional teacher and also meeting the professional standards. The role of a professional teacher does include subject matter and pedagogical knowledge, commitment, passion, dedication to the job. To ensure improved learning outcomes in a classroom requires advanced preparation, professional conduct, incorporating moral and ethical values in your training or teaching in a classroom.
868 students from the 2018-2019 and 2019-2020 academic years were conferred with diploma in basic education. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Akachi.
And back here in Accra, the Accra Regional Police Command has impounded 394 motorbikes from different parts of the capital. The operations, according to the police, is to clamp down on criminal activities and prevent crimes usually committed using motorbikes. Let's get more on this operation. Let's speak with DSP Fiatenge, who speaks for the Accra region. DSP, what has necessitated this operation?
Yes, thank you very much, Aisha. Yes, we studied the criminal trends or the crime trends. And so from the beginning of this year, the command has adopted a strategy of conducting periodic swoops. And so this comes to about the third or fourth that we have conducted. So we do this motorbikes exercise because we know that some of the crimes that we have recorded have used motorbikes to facilitate the crimes. And also we know how some of these criminals who use motorbikes attack innocent persons. They maim them in the process, they rob them of their valuables and so forth. So we do some of this periodically to get the unregistered motorbikes from the street or off the streets. Then again, to also ensure that those who are using the motorbikes without complying to road traffic regulations, they get their documents updated. Some of them do not even have the requisite license. Others do not have the insurance. And so when we do some of these things or these exercises, it compels them to get their documents updated. And we know that it has helped in a number of ways to stem down criminal activities in Accra. So it's an ongoing exercise. We have done a number of them. All those who are found culpable after our screening are definitely made to face the law court. So this is what we're doing. And we continue to ask for the general cooperation of all so that we can have the system sanitized of criminal activities, especially violent crimes that are usually perpetrated by the use of motorbikes such as these.
DSP, the impounded motorbikes includes courier bikes. Why are they also targeted?
If you heard me, the second part of my conversation, I said that some of them do not have the requisite documentation. There's a courier bike, all right, but the law compels you to update your documents. Some do not have license. Some do not have the needed insurance. Some are even riding without helmets. So any of the breaches of the road traffic regulation, then it means that you have some questions to answer. So if you see some of them there, then it means that they do not have the needed documentation governing or covering them from using motorbikes.
So how do you intend to sustain this operations? Because there are many who feel that this will be a 9-day wonder.
No, as I said, since the beginning of this year, it is one of the operations we have conducted. We have conducted similar exercises. We do swoops, then we move on to do the motorbikes. And indeed, most of the motorbikes too are stolen. From what our records, some of them are stolen. And so when we are able to retrieve the stolen motorbikes in the system that are used to commit all sorts of crimes, it brings down the criminal activities down. So for the command, it has really helped. It is to ensure that street robberies are minimized. So yes, it is not a 9-day wonder. It is an exercise that is ongoing. And I have said it again, and I'll say it, that this is one of the strategies that the command believes that it is really helping and reducing crimes, especially crimes that are targeted at meaningful Ghanaians on the streets of Accra.
I'm grateful for your time this afternoon, DSP. But before I let you go, how long is it likely to be replicated across other parts of the country?
Yes, I speak for the command, so I can't speak for the others. I don't know if they're also facing the same problem we are facing here in Accra. Okay. It was based on a crime trend where we realized that motorbikes were being used to facilitate violent crimes. And so it compelled the region to draw up a strategy to deal with the nuisance the motorbikes create on our streets of Accra, then again to ensure that we clamp down on criminal activity. So if the other regions also see that as a way to go by clamping down on criminal activity, I cannot speak for them because I don't know what is also pertaining them. But for the command, we believe that this is one of the surest ways that we can clamp down on criminal activities, especially those that are perpetrated by the use of motorbikes.
Very well, but I'm curious to know what happens to these impounded motorbikes. I mean, usually what are the processes?
Okay, so what happens is now they are all being taken through screening. When we say screening, first of all, those standing there immediately, they could not produce the requisite documentation. So we profile them, we take them to the station, and if you have the requisite documentation, if you have the license, then you produce them. Some are even stolen motorbikes, so they don't even appear, they vanish, they don't come back again. So we are able to get all these off the street. And sometimes to the reports that we've had as part of our reports, we contact them, then they come, they bring their documents covering the motorbike. So we do a comparison to see whether they actually have the right to own that motorbike, or the motorbike is rightfully theirs. Then we can hand over the motorbikes to them. Those who are not able to produce any documents covering their motorbikes, then those people are put before the law courts.
Thank you, DSP, for that information. DSP Efiatenge, she speaks for the Accra Police Command. Now, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is adopting measures to eradicate the use of mercury in small-scale mining operations. Industry players will be introduced to use commodity monitor equipment in the extraction of gold, which is 95% effective and friendly to the environment. Deputy Sector Minister George Merekuduka says the government will provide the equipment to the miners who are expected to pay back in installments. Nana Ojima has been monitoring a meeting between the ministry and the miners and has filed this report.
According to Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, artisanal and small-scale gold mining accounts for over 700 tons of mercury emissions into the atmosphere every year. 800 tons of mercury is released to land and water. Mercury, commonly used in traction of gold ounce, when released into the environment, has negative implications on human health. Under the green mining system to be introduced, the commodity monitor machine will be supplied to small-scale miners by the government. Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, George Merekuduka, explains.
Because as I speak with you, lots of people apply mercury in mining, and that has its own ramifications. So what we intend doing is to give them a commodity mining machine where it could, one, get more gold or tract more gold, then also without mercury, so to speak, without mercury. And that machine will be distributed to these small-scale miners. They will get kind of concession from a designated bank that will negotiate with them. They give the machine out to them, then they pay them in installments.
The Deputy Minister noted there is no ban on small-scale mining, but an intensified drive to deal with illegal mining through Operation Halt. There have been complaints that machinery of individuals mining illegally have been destroyed by the military team. Mr. Duka, however, says investigations have exonerated the team.
The complaint was as if the military erred, but when we went into details or the nitty-gritties of the matter, we realized that they didn't. I mean, they did the right thing with regards to all the regulations that they follow. So it shouldn't be rhetoric, kind of. I've told them, your license must measure what you do. You can't just say because you have a license, so you mine haphazardly. It's just like a driver having a license and driving carelessly.
Meanwhile, small-scale miners have accepted to mine responsibly as many go back to site. Abdulrazak Alhassan speaks for the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners.
Do the right thing. Mine responsibly. Make sure that your site is genuine. Your site looks more responsible. And we keep on, as from today, we have some ethics that everybody must follow. And then make sure that they will do the right thing.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
We're back in Accra, where consultant neurosurgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Hadi Abdallah, is estimating that 10,000 Ghana cedis will be required to properly diagnose the medical condition for Gideon Afenya, the 18-year-old boy who did not grow. JoyNews brought the story of how a spinal condition contracted when Gideon was 3 months old affected his ability to develop. He's now unable to walk, talk, or eat unassisted. Here's a reminder of that story.
Gideon lives at Peki, Avetile, in the Volta region with his mother Doris and grandmother, who is also bedridden. 18 years ago, the 3-month-old baby was crying, eating and sleeping like any other child until things started getting worse.
No, Otiano, me man no phone. Onum no sa, yet is our dynamic no to honumpa. Now, send a missing no. First one, na me be kind wound no one tissa. Until no senior or ye and Namide, who ye say, Bribi a ye, Akolan. Nti free one no omo my date say ensamba. Nanso yes sign the chibe film. Na ya nya scanty. Make am say scarcity na yamfana anko bisine.
What seemed like a routine illness has kept him in bed since then, preventing him from growing into the man he should have been by now. Caring for him has become a full-time occupation for Doris. She is unable to take up a meaningful job because her son needs her help.
First, I need to make up a career job mama for. It be a distance, you know. I move train kakra. Now, maybe war no 90 centi. I'm meant to make a baby.
We visited Dr. Hadi Abdallah at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to discuss the condition.
After learning of Gideon's heartbreaking condition, one thing is clear: the boy and his mother need our help. So we've come to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Ghana's largest medical facility, to meet Dr. Hadi Abdallah, a neurosurgeon who may have a solution for Gideon's condition. So you see, his legs are almost stuck.
Yeah, he's severely malnourished. I think the element of the spinal cord injury may be true, but it's when we examine him. Initially, when I saw the videos, I thought, but I mean, watching this now, I'm beginning to form the impression that probably he might have suffered either some spinal cord injury or brain injury of a sort. And it means that he needs to be properly evaluated. Looking at how the ribs are all prominent, it means there's a serious element of malnutrition, and that needs to be tackled. And I think that even if we need to do anything surgically for him, we still need to build him up. So food is important. I don't know how much he's able to take, but with the help of a dietitian, if we get a dietitian who would probably recommend the type of food he should take to build him up, that will help. With the stiffness, physiotherapy would help. So I would say that for the initial evaluation, bar consultation fee for whichever hospital he evaluated, probably if you get like 10,000 Ghana cedis, it should be adequate or enough to do like a proper assessment.
We're back as the administration block because after our conversation with Dr. Abdallah, one question remains clear. How does a woman who sells oranges for 10 Ghana cedis foot a 10,000 cedi bill for diagnostics alone? David Lamte is the head of social welfare here at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
When such a patient comes and then we are in the noon, we will assist the patient to get the doctor to the doctor who will also assess the patient. So when the doctor assesses the patient and then find out that this is what has to be done, this is the surgery that the patient will have to undergo, this is the cost involved, he gets to our partners to see how best they can help.
I'd say it was a good visit to the hospital.
It's still your most authoritative show, and we're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you sports. Time now for sports, and after struggling for over 23 years in the lower ranks of Ghana football, BBN Gold Stars have qualified to compete in the Ghana Premier League for the first time in their history. The team, previously known as Complex Stars, changed its name to Bibiani Gold Stars in 1998 when Mesim Gold Mines took over the running of the club. After narrowly missing out on qualifying for the elite division on a number of occasions, luck finally smiled on the Western North Region club, paving the way for their qualification with 5 matches to spare. Love FM's Delali Atiase has more in this special report.
So this is the dance park at Bibiani. That is where Bibiani Gold Stars, or this is the home grounds of Bibiani Gold Stars, who have just recently qualified for the Ghana Premiership, meaning that Gold Stars will be playing in the Ghana Premiership in the next season, that is the 2021 and 2022 football season. It's been 23 years of struggle for this team. The team was formed back in 1998, and they've struggled to get promotion to the top flight division. It's been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, but finally they've been able to make it to the Premier League. The Gold Stars story, therefore, cannot be told without the mention of Coach Kobene Mensah, who is now the toast of fans of the club. Kobene Mensah has been sharing how he masterminded the victory and how challenging it's been coming out of the football wilderness.
Honestly, it was a very difficult season. We all know Division 1 is a place where everything is determined to qualify into the Premiership. So most of the times when you go to away games, especially away games, and you can't even put 3 or 4 passes together, and it makes the job very difficult for us as a coach at Division 1. But I can say for sure, Division 1 is a very, very difficult area where I'm happy to be the first coach to qualify from the 3 zones.
You are the only coach in the history of Ghana who has qualified 4 different teams from the lower ranks to the top flight. So, I mean, how were you able to make such an incredible record?
I realized that what I did at Bekum Chelsea, I have to try my possible best to repeat that thing at the second year Azakis. Initially, I was telling myself, can I make it this time for the second round? But I realized that in Division 1, you don't need too much kind of procession, which most of the teams I play with try to do that. But as I told you earlier on, that putting 3 or 4 or 5 passes together in some kind of pitches is difficult. So I adopted a strategy by myself that just players, and then I give them the instruction, particular instruction, and my players listen to me. So when they get there, you see they enjoy the game, but when we are in a half and you are a spectator, you not enjoy my team because we don't have much time at the back. The much time we need to spend is to be at the opponent attacking third. There you enjoy it because...
So you were using this strategy with all the 4 clubs that you qualified from there.
Exactly, and that is where football is won by strategy. Even the highest division, the Champions League, you need strategy. You do something to outwit your other colleague on the other bench, so that at the end of the day, the important thing is the win. So my players, if I can say, they understand my philosophy. I believe in honesty that when it comes to technique, individual brilliant, my team is, yeah, they are very good.
And so if you look at them now, are they a team that can compete in the Premiership?
Of course, yes, because definitely there will be some individuals who will come in and other people also giving room for another players to come in.
You said something earlier on. Are we going to see you still being in charge when you get to the Premiership?
That one I say, let's see what will happen. But I really enjoy my stay with Gold Stars. I've enjoyed my players, enjoyed my technical team. I've enjoyed my management, and especially the fans. They value your work that you did, whether it's good or it's bad. And then they will give you the opportunity whether to extend your contract or make sure they say, oh, you want a new coach. But footballers, I'll tell you, it's not 100% guaranteed that you qualify the team, so you are supposed to be there. Because maybe other teams want me, who knows? Maybe offers are come from certain places, it can be lower division, it can be higher division.
Offers coming?
A lot.
It's about determination, because I travel outside. Okay. So I was coming here, all of them are expecting me to do more because I'm a striker. So in the season, I pray to God that it should. I'm going to play very, very hard to take a goal king as next season Premier League.
The Gold Star story will be incomplete without a mention of Mensim Gold Mines, which has been the team's financial backbone since 1998. General Manager of Mensim Mines, Mr. Bennett Kunchebe, is happy their target has eventually been achieved.
Despite all the frustrations we had in playing, we played about 2 middle leagues. We never got there, but we didn't give up. And really, yes, our target was one day we will be there, and we have got there now. So, and that is all the more reason why I'm saying that I believe Resolute will not relent its efforts in supporting the team, because that has always been the objective of this sponsorship.
The Corporate and Social Responsibility Manager of Mensim Mines, Emmanuel Edu, is happy the achievements have finally been rewarded.
Once the people are saying that we want football, we ought to have supported football, and we actually supported the football. And we didn't just throw in the money, we gave the money and ensured that there was value for the money or the investment that we gave to the team. So if you have seen Gold Stars being successful today, to the extent that Gold Stars won the league ahead of time, then that tells you that BBN Mine has done a very conscious job to make sure Gold Stars succeeds.
For many followers of the club, qualifying to play in the Premiership was not by fluke. They are optimistic that theirs will not be just a one-season stay in the top flight, but a long sojourn in the top level.
Se Premier no eba be start no. Enya dia Gold Stars ye be free muda. Enam supporter Mines for the dia mine. Ntimo gidio me mu say next season no, she start league no Gold Stars. Yam number be you crap top for the bit my day. Abo. Na air park here the hey. Players park we atete. Na Ghana ha say no. Na ne ntimi ba Premier no. Na e ha adwene.
Na some boss Premier na aba no. Ye be chew. Ye ma me bo endi agro. Because BBN na ye wo no. Ye wo man mu de. Me asho mo. Kotoko has. Anya kasa kwa yenim de ka.
But say the minu ane kan no. Premier mo hwe yenim na ye ba. Gold Stars di nyame.
And that's where we part company on The Pulse this afternoon. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com for updates of all the developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I've indeed enjoyed my almost 2 hours stay with you. Up next is Let's Talk Showbiz. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
It's a beautiful day to talk showbiz here on your favorite news channel, JoyNews on your multi-TV channel. My name is Becky. I'm here to give you everything that you need to hear in the world of entertainment. Please stick with me. I'll be right back. If you guys join me, this is Let's Talk Showbiz. My name is Becky. Today, let's start with Ajete Annan. Ajete Annan is in the news. He's been sharing with us how his journey looks like. Yes, how he started his journey into acting. He actually mentioned that it has a lot to do with recommendations from top movie stars here in Ghana. Let's listen to Ajete Annan.
This was then video cassettes, you know, and so that's where I picked up this whole movie thing, seeing
what kind of stuff were they shooting at the time?
Oh, from Chinese, you know, to Indian, to Western, cowboy, you know. But for me, what really caught my eye was that most of the time, after the movie, there's this behind the scenes, and so then you get to know the personalities playing some of these characters. And I realized that some of them really were not what they were playing. And it fascinated me, and so I got hooked on by then, and then it became more like a hobby. I never really saw myself one day being in front of the camera. No, because I was a bit timid, and I hardly spoke. I rather listened more, and so yeah, never saw myself.
Talking about that, really, I mean, for those who know you in private, you come across as a very quiet, shy person. So it's only when it almost seems like it's only when the lights come on that your anointing comes.
There you go. Yeah.
So what triggered the actual transition from the watching to the doing?
For me, for the best part, the few instances in school when during Easter, Christmas, we have this small drama thing, and somehow I found myself in there. I don't remember whether it was something that I really requested for. It was just thrown at me. And so what I did was just try and remember and imitate what I saw and take it very seriously. And then people would go like, hey, this guy has something. And that was what it was. And how I had some of the gurus in the industry commend me. So I was just thriving on commendations.
Tell me about some of those who commended you, those who inspired you, those you watched and say, that's it.
Yeah, so the likes of David Donto, Akofe Jani Asidu, and the late Solomon Sampa, all these were great actors in our time when you would love to. These are people where you couldn't even see them in town, and then we didn't have this age of social media. It was absent, and so it was tough to come by these persons. And so when you saw them, meet them, and they go like, that's good. The Blue Riverson Juniors, so it was really was something that I thought. If they were saying this, then there must be something in there. And so I said, well, why not take a second look at this hobby thing? And especially when I also wasn't sure what I really wanted to do, given that he was absent and all that. But I'm sure we'll get into all those.
All right, let's move away from Ajetiana. Let's talk about Black Sheriff. He's still in the news. So Black Sheriff is giving respect and honor to who is due. Yes, he is saying thank you to Adum FM, thank you to Yapono, and thank you to Ajezi for actually helping him coming out in this music industry.
Ajezi saw that video.
Which one, the comedian?
Yeah, the comedian Ajezi. He saw that video no repost here. Anna Pono bium say yambra, or say Pono bium hitting and say yambra kra.
Okay.
Yes.
Was Ajezi?
Yeah, Ajezi.
That started the whole journey.
Yeah, first time. Or they make Adum. My first radio station, I mean, we are in Adum.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ajezi in Adum, I mean, yeah, some freestyle. Then also, yeah, I'm trying on the. Then also trend small.
Okay.
So after Adum, Ajezi, they make
Probium.
Yeah.
Bless him.
I recorded my first song. Ajezi soon came my first radio interview. But Saturn, I knew that Charlie, me I go be star, cause my first radio interview will be Adum. I enter Adum there.
There wasn't any small radio station that. Wow.
Yeah, big shouts to Ajezi. Ajezi first give me wow.
It's good you remember.
Let's talk about Keche. Keche, the music duo Keche, they are saying that they're not quitting anytime soon. They're still with their fans, considering the fact that, after winning the VGMA Group of the Year, they, sounded like they're quitting music. But, well, in a recent interview with JoyNews, they are saying that they are, they just really started, doing music, and so they're not quitting anytime soon. Let's take Keche on Let's Talk Showbiz.
It's the Ghana Music Awards UK nominees launch, and obviously the guys who won the best group of the year are the recently ended VGMAs. Keche, they're right here to talk entertainment.
It was best group and hip life song of the year. Yeah.
So let's talk about your nominations so far. Were you guys expecting it?
Oh yes, I know we've worked so hard, and we've been here, and we still look or sound like some new artists just came yesterday, because we believe in the brand, and we always want to project Ghana to the world. So we're stopping now, and we're happy that the time is here, because we've never received any award since we started working in Ghana, the music awards. And I think the time is here. So we're not surprised that already 4 nominations already. So we thank God for that, and we're hoping to win some awards. Yeah.
Andrew, is this your first, time on the Ghana Music Awards stage? What are your expectations, even if it's not the first?
I think, like Joshua rightly said, over the years we've been working, and we always try to come harder every day, each year. And then, we're just looking for the best to happen. We never settle for less. So we're working, and then wherever we find ourselves, being it stage, being it anything connected to music, make sure we put in 100%. So Jam Media is doing everything possible to just, see to the betterment of the team. So we also give up our best everywhere. So we're just looking out for the best, and that's it.
You guys are all over the place. After the Ghana Music Awards, obviously we have the Ghana Music Awards UK coming up. You guys, up to anything, or you're just, taking it slow, relaxing?
Okay, I always say that awards are just the icing on the cake. The fans making you #1 and enjoying your song cutting across. That's the biggest award we're always expecting. So when it comes to things like this...
Are you retiring or something?
Oh, no.
You spoke so passionate about it, about, having to wait for that award, and now you've gotten it. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe you're quitting.
No, we're not quitting. When we talk about awards, as an artist, you can make all the money you want, you can get all the hits you want, but then tomorrow, when you are old and you have your kids and all that, what is there to prove? Yes, there is internet, but there should be something. This is what showed that your works were being recognized. Like we do say all the time, even being a nominee itself is an award. You can also show that your works were being recognized. We are not quitting, we're just working harder. In fact, you can tell this year we haven't put up any song yet, so that should tell you that there is something heavy really coming. So we're working tirelessly to keep giving Ghanaians, our fans, the best of songs, and then keep collecting the award and keep making the money.
I like the last part, but final words for people who are still supporting the brand Keche and are expecting a whole lot more from the brand. What do you have to tell them?
Okay, I want to say thank you so much for supporting Keche, the skill team, Keche Global. You asked for collaborations and they are coming. Trust me, this year more collaborations, and just watch out. You already know Keche. Let's go. Peace.